All right, so on homework day 17, we're going to be solving some equations. The first ones are already going to be factored out for you. So if my equations are factored and they're set equal to 0, we can break it down into easier problems. Either this could equal 0 or this could equal 0. So we're just going to write 5y, oh, I better fix the board because I'm writing crooked. I should check that. This doesn't want to write straight. So either, oh, now it doesn't want to write at all. Next, y plus 4 could equal to 0. That's the first factor. Or the second factor, y plus 1 could equal 0. Or 1 plus y, I better write it the right way. And then we're just going to solve those two things just like we solve the rest of our equations. So when we solve the first one here, I got to move my 4 over to the other side, so I'm going to minus that 4. 5y then equals negative 4, since 0 minus 4 is negative 4. And then, of course, I got to divide by the 5. So y is going to equal negative 4/5 for our first answer. Our second one, well, that one's pretty easy to solve. I just need to move my 1 over. Go ahead and just get logged in. So I'm going to minus my 1, and 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So negative 1 is my second answer.
So it's going to be 4/5 and negative 1.
Negative 4/5 and negative 1, right? This was a negative 4 over 5. So negative 4/5 and negative 1. So number 2 wants us to solve that expression. Now notice on this one, the negative 2 doesn't have a variable with it. So we don't have to do anything with that part of it. We're only going to do the ones that have variables. So in this case, we have a w in this factor and a w in this factor. So we're going to write down either the 4w minus 6 could equal 0 or the 1 minus w could equal 0. And just write down our two problems. So on the first one, if we want to solve that, what should we do?
Move your negative 6.
So that's going to make it a
Positive 6.
+6. So 4w would equal 6. 0 plus 6 is 6. And then we're going to divide by 4. Since we have 6/4, we're going to be able to simplify that into
3 seconds.
3 over 2, exactly. So there's one of our answers. Now we got to solve the second part of that. On the second part,
You can move the 1.
we can move the 1, which makes it a
Negative 1.
negative 1. So negative w equals negative 1. And then to solve that, we would
Yeah. What you going to do? Divide.
we're going to divide it by
Oh, negative 1.
negative 1, because negative w is the same thing as negative 1w, right?
Yep.
And a negative 1 divided by a negative 1 is a
1.
positive 1, exactly. Right, if I plugged it in here, 1 minus 1 is 0. That's what we were trying to get. What number makes that 0?
So what do you do with the 2? Nothing?
The 2 you do nothing because it doesn't have a variable, so you can't solve it. There's not a letter to solve for.
Okay.
But on the next one, you'll notice that thing has a variable. So on the third one, slide that up a little higher. This one we're going to have 3 answers on because there's 3 x's in that problem, right? So we're going to do 3 problems. What do you think our 3 problems are going to be?
It's gonna be, x minus 6 equals 0.
That's one of our problems.
And then 4 minus 3x equals 0.
That's another one of our problems. And we have a third problem on this one.
Yeah.
What's the other part?
Is it gonna be 5x
Equals
0?
0. Exactly. So because we've got 3 parts and they each have x's, we're going to have 3 problems to do. So, which one of those do you want to do first?
Let's do the first one.
The 5x equals 0 or the x minus 6 equals
Or
0?
the x minus 6.
Okay, so how do I solve that one?
We're just gonna make it a positive 6.
Make it a positive 6, so x just equals 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And we divide it by 6. So that ends up being, oh, that's the answer?
that's just the answer because there's not a number in front of the x other than
Oh,
1,
okay.
but yeah, x just equals 6. Right, if we substituted it in, 6 minus 6 is 0, yep.
Okay, so then the negative 4 minus 3x equals,
So
we gotta go positive 3.
okay, you're going to make that a positive 3x and move the x over.
Yeah.
So 4 equals 3x. And then I would have to
Divided by 4.
divide by,
4.
not the 4, because which one's in front of the x?
The 3.
The 3. We're dividing by the 3 because we're getting the x by itself. So the 3 is going to go on the bottom, right? So far we got x equals 6, x equals 4 over 3, and now we've got that third one to do. What do we do to solve that one?
I don't know. Put negative
Sure
5.
they do. Not negative 5 though, because we don't. That's not 5 plus x, right?
Okay.
What do I do when the number's right in front of my variable?
You're just gonna add the 0 over?
No. If I add 0, it's not going to change it. How do I move the 5? Because I want to get the x by itself. When you have 5x, what do you do with your 5?
Just add another 5. Divide it by 5.
Ah, divide it by 5. Exactly. We're going to divide by 5. That cancels that out. And 0 divided by 5 is
0.
still 0. Right? If you substituted it in and said 5 times 0, 5 times 0 is still 0. That's what we want to get. So we have 3 answers. 6, 4/3, and 0 are all solutions to that one. So the reason they do those ones like that is because when we have quadratic expressions, those ones with the squared terms, we have to solve them by factoring them out.